On the mystic path, we create our own light, and at first we struggle, blind and baffled, seeing nothing, hearing nothing, unable to think, unable to imagine. We seem deserted by dream, vision, or inspiration, and our meditation barren altogether. But let us persist through weeks or months, and sooner or later, that stupor disappears. Our faculties readjust themselves and do the work we will them to do. Never did they do their work so well. The dark caverns of the brain begin to grow luminous. We are creating our own light. George William Russell.
Thank you so much, Mary. Welcome, everyone, to Gems from the Wisdom Traditions, a conversation circle that we offer here at Still a Moving Center every Saturday afternoon, Hawaii time. And we are so pleased to have each of you joining us. This is the week with the theme of Noetic action. And noesis has to do with this quality of the mind, of it being luminous and shining outward. And something about our reception, our perception comes from shining our own light into the world, onto our path. And so noetic action would be filled with that kind of illuminating, intelligent light. I had the opportunity, after we've had several presentations this year on Thich Nhat Hanh, to hear about another Vietnamese monk who is currently alive and who is being called the walking monk. And I just felt, in reading a little bit about him, as if his actions, very simple, very much illuminated by the idea of wanting peace and wanting compassion for the world, I felt as if this walking monk was engaged probably in noetic action. And so I reached out to the one person I know who's living in Vietnam. And so Truc Nguyen is that person. I also know her husband, Cortland, who's living there. But I reached out to Truc, as being Vietnamese herself, and said, do you know anything about this walking monk? And she said, oh, yes, he's wonderful. And then I pressed her a little farther and said, do you think you could tell us more about him? Because none of the rest of us, I suspect, have heard of him. And I'm not sure I can even pronounce his name, so I'm going to leave that for Truc. Truc is a very, very long time part of the whole Still and Moving Center, Ohana. She and her husband lived here on island for many years. They were part of the early years of Still and Moving Center. I probably gave 3 or 4 meditation classes, which I have never done before or since. And she and Cortland were there for those. And she also has been a very long time participant in our whole hula halau. And it's always a joy when we get to see her online, when we don't get to see her because she is so far away. It's really, really a privilege. I know that she has been somebody who's been a student of Buddhism for a long time, and I know that she has a lot to share with us. So we're so really appreciative to you, knowing things have not been the easiest in your life, and you're showing up for us anyway. So thank you ever so much, Truc, and I'll just hand it over to you to let you tell us about this walking monk, if you would.
Yes, thank you for the very nice introduction about us, me and Cortland. And also thanks to everyone for attending today, because I was afraid no one would show up. I'm like, but it's great. This is the first time I have a presentation with this platform, so please bear with me if there's some technical problems. And also I may mispronounce some English words. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, you can always ask for more explanation, clarification. So okay, yeah, it's actually my honor to talk about someone who's Vietnamese and someone who's getting attention worldwide. So it's and as a Buddhist myself, or someone who tries to practice Buddhism principles, I think it's really an honor to present to you what I know about him. Um, so his name is Thích Minh Tuệ, and it's like an ordained name, like a Buddhist name when he joined a monastery in Vietnam to get this name. Um, but um, but later on, he decided he would just be like on his own and leave that monastery and work on his own. So sometimes he doesn't really feel associated with this name. But I mean, that's a name that most people like to call him. So let's just agree that his name is Thích Minh Tuệ. Could you move to the next slide, please?
Oh, are you able to see my slides yet?
No, not yet.
Yeah, okay, so hold on one second. Let me reshare. Can you see it now?
Yes. So
Okay.
the next slide would be great. Yes. So so Thích Minh Tuệ is just a normal Vietnamese citizen. That's what he want to identify himself as, and he practiced the wandering lifestyle, the ascetic practices, because he's inspired by the Buddha's early teachings. So it's more primitive than the later teachings of the Buddha. So it involves a lot of hardship and discipline, and I will talk more about that later. So his Dharma name, like I say, is Thích Minh Tuệ, and the Vietnamese meaning of it is enlightened wisdom. So I think it also has some relation to the topic of today. And because he's not officially ordained, he's not by the it's in Vietnam we have an organization called Vietnam Buddhist Sangha, and it's a state-controlled, state-run organization, and they only allow monks to practice Buddhism if they join this organization. So there's already a lot of conflicts for monks who don't want to be associated with any politics, and he's one of them. So he considers himself as a simple practitioner. Um, he doesn't want to do anything with that state control, state sanctioned organization. But because of that, they use that to denounce him and to talk about him as if he's not a real monk and he's not anyone to respect. And anyway, he doesn't care about that. But that's also one of the aspects that they use to attack him. And the main thing that he does that attracts a lot of attention is his practice. The 13, they call Dutanga, is a Sanskrit name. Oh, it just means like ascetic, like the 13 practices that really hard. For example, like for clothing, they can only have 3 layers of clothes, and there when we call it robes, and the robes have to be sewn by hand from discarded clothes found in, let's say, graveyards or roadsides or trash bins. So they not allowed to buy new fabric, new stuff, and they have to make everything themselves. And the fabric has to be discarded already. So usually they collect the fabrics from the street or trash bin, and they can only sew the new ones after the current ones are torn beyond repair. So that's one of the aspects that show the simplicity of their lifestyle. And for food, they only they only eat they only eat one meal a day. And for this particular monk, Thích Minh Tuệ, he even practices drinking only once a day. So yeah, only so he eats and drinks only once a day, and the food and the drink have to be received from people. So he's it's like they call it alms. and he usually collect them and put in his. Usually he collects like people throw away the pot inside a rice cooker, so he's also famous for that. So because he works around with, instead of a real, other monks when they work around, they have a nice bowl to collect alms. But for him, he just used a rice cooker pot, like an old one that people throw away. And then, sometimes he has food poisoning because people gives him whatever. He cannot control that. So sometimes he throws up everything, but he would not like take more food or drink of that day. He would have to wait until the next day to take food again and to drink again. So it's a lot of hardship. And of course, he accepts no money, like people wouldn't be able to donate any money to him. So the only thing that he accepts from people is food and drink. I mean, food and water. And then for sleeping, the practices require them to sleep outdoor. So either in the forest or the cemeteries, under trees or by the roadside. So no real shelter at all. And they would work barefoot. So for him, he averages about 25 kilometers a day. And also the practice is required to sleep sitting. So it's very tough for the new monks who want to go with him and follow him, to practice sleep sitting. But recently he even tried to practice sleeping while standing. So yeah, it's a new level of hardship that he wants to put on himself. So I will talk more about that later. Could you move to the next slide?
Now, can you see it or is this blocked for you? You can see it? Okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
All right.
So in the slides, I put up the like the quotes that people claim that he says, because he doesn't have any official writing or any people to really follow him and write down. So this is from the videos, from the interviews that he has with many YouTubers, many people online. So here are the quotes that he says. So for this, I just would like to talk about like his journey. So in 2000, he started to be ordained like a real monk. And then in 2005, he decided to leave everything behind and just started working on his own around Vietnam. And actually, at that time, I did see him once. I did read something about a working monk, but at that time, people just talk about him like a joke. Like we just laugh about it. And I saw him and think, oh, this is a crazy guy, man, the guy who work barefoot like that. Vietnam is very hot. And the street is not a nice place to work. A lot of traffic, and the road is not nice, not like made of dirt. So it's very hard. But he was able to work alone for a very long time until we have social media, which is recently. So starting in about 2023, the YouTubers, the influencers, whoever want to get views and likes on social media, they started video tapping him and talking about him. And that's when he become famous, and he became, like really viral on the media. So here's a quote that he talks about walking. So basically, he kept telling people that he, because of the government control, he doesn't. Of course, he wouldn't. It would be dumb to say that. Oh, I want to talk about things and teach people things. That wouldn't be very wise in Vietnam, because they don't want any big speaker like Thích Nhất Hạnh. So all he has been saying, he just want to work by himself and just to practice. He doesn't need to teach anyone. And while he works, he would like to pray for everyone to be happy. Could you move to the next slide?
Sure.
Okay, so because of the topic today, I would also touch a little bit on the because it's very hard to separate all of his talking and his action to aim for one specific topic. So here's the some aspect that I could take from the research about him relating to compassion and like being kind to people. So here are the quotes that he has said, because his working faces a lot of hatred and people who don't like. I think it's similar to sorry if I don't use the right name, like Jesus Christ, right? Like when he walked around and preached, he also faced a lot of hostility. Of course, this guy, I mean, this monk we cannot compare to that, but I mean, whoever walks around and draws a lot of attention, and if it's for religion, you see they have a lot of hostility. But for him, he doesn't mind at all, and he just consider everyone as equal being. Everyone suffers, so he has compassion towards everyone. Um, One of the incidents is when he was in Thailand. There always a lot of people approaching him, but there was this one who seemed very unstable. He dressed weird. He had long hair. He looks really weird. Like everyone's kind of skeptical of him and didn't want to be close to him. But he just approached right at Thich Minh Tuệ and asked for his robe. And everyone was surprised because at that time, I mean, which is this year, Thich Minh Tuệ is already considered as someone holy already. So usually he's protected by volunteers and stuff. But then this one would just approach right at him, ask for his robe. And to everyone's surprise, he gave away his robe. Although, like I say, they only have 3 layers of clothes. The first layer is like the bottom, but without, it's not like pants, it's more like a skirt. And then the second layer is the top. And then the third layer is the outside robe to cover themselves. And in Thailand at that time at night, it's very cold, but he would still give away his robe. And everyone was so surprised and worried for his health at night. But he says it doesn't matter, he will just make another one. And he never questioned that one, like, oh, what you use it for? Because that one even doesn't look like he needs a robe to practice anything. He just want to ask for a robe from the most famous monk at that point. And people ask for his signature and everything, and they really like kind of worship him. But this guy, he just like come and ask for a robe and he gets it. So it was kind of shocking to everyone around him. And also, like because he's so famous, he attracts a lot of volunteers who would approach him and offer him to help him with navigation and also with paperwork, because he still needs to have a visa and stuff when he walks around in like other countries. But he doesn't know English, he doesn't know anything, doesn't have a phone, doesn't know how to navigate things. So he needs help from people. But many people came with like bad intention. They use his image to make money. They cheat other supporters. Like, oh, Thích Minh Tuệ needs this and that, so they raise money and stuff. So there are a lot of bad people surrounding him, but he never scorned them or shamed them, or he doesn't seek revenge. When people ask about these bad people, he always say nice things about them, like I see them as friends. And he say people can come to him, people can leave him. He never invites anyone to come with him, but he also doesn't kick anyone away from him. Um, and also when people insult or attack him, he's still very nice, very calm, uh, doesn't get upset at all, because we can see his manner on the videos, and he always wishes well for those who harm him. And then at one point, because at one point he was working in Thailand, and he tried to get into Myanmar, which is neighboring with Thailand. But at that time, the Myanmar had a lot of wars, like they have the civil war and also the wars with Thailand on the border. So it was considered dangerous at that point, and everyone asked him like not to go, but he insisted on going into the country because he said he wanted to pray for peace and for the civilians there. Because people say, oh, you shouldn't go there. There's a war there going on, very harsh. And he say, that's why I need to go to pray for peace. Um, But unfortunately, he couldn't get his wish fulfilled because the Thailand, they closed the border with Myanmar at that time. Like, like the two countries fighting with each other, they wouldn't allow, like both countries, they don't allow any crossing of the border. But those are just a few examples of how compassionate he is towards people. And then could you move to the next slide?
Can you see that?
Yes. Yes, I can see that. So I just want to talk a little bit more about his recent challenge of sleeping standing, because that really shocked people, because it's like another level of difficulties that he just imposed on himself. This is the quote he say when people ask about it. But I think it's best if I read this. This is like an interview with him regarding the sleeping standing. So I will just read his answers to the people who asked him about this practice. As for my leg, let me explain. It's swollen because I made it that way myself. If anyone stands non-stop for 20 days and nights like I and the other monks do, it will swell like that. Blood and fluids gather and cause swelling, but it regulates itself and the swelling will subside. No problem. Now the blood is slowly receding, so there's nothing to worry about. Right now we are abroad. They started doing that like a month ago. Right now he and his followers are in India. So right now we are abroad. It's the middle of the night and we don't know if someone will kick us out. Trying to find a spot to sit, to lay our mat is complicated and not easy. If they see us sitting, they may come and force us to leave again. But standing, they wouldn't have the heart to chase us off because they see we don't intend to stay, just waiting through the night before moving on. Because he has faced a lot of harassment from the strangers and also the local government. And that's people say because of the interference from the Vietnamese government. So it's not easy for them to just move around. Even moving around and sleeping on the sidewalk is hard for them. Okay, just continue with his talk. Also, I've noticed, oh, we still stay with the sleeping standing. Also, I've noticed I'm still too attached to food and sleep. The moment I sit, I start dozing off. How can I practice well that way? When I practice sleeping while standing, I did consider the possibility I might end up in a wheelchair, but I was ready to accept that. I happily thought, eventually we all die anyway. Using a wheelchair, that's fine too. I also know that many people curse me, calling me stupid. Why sleep standing and ruin your legs? That's why no one tries, no one dares to do it. But once I did it, I realized how different it feels. When I was able to sleep standing, no longer dependent on having to sit to sleep, I felt clearly the shift in my inner state. Those who don't dare try it will never know that difference. Those who insult me will never understand the state of being able to stand and still sleep. They never know the realization that there is nothing humans can't overcome. They will never know that. If they want to know, they also have to accept the insults like I did. They will have to practice. So yeah, I decided to read the whole thing because I really like what he say. Not that I like the practice, or I think it's a good one or not, but it's just the way he thinks of you have to practice if you want to really shift your mental state, or even your physical stuff. And I think this is a really profound thing to say. And also I just admire the determination that he put in his practice, because he really want to be free and independent from anything, like from even the need to, of course he doesn't lie down to sleep anymore, but even the need to sit down and to sleep for him is already a dependent and attachment, so he even wants to free himself from that. And that's a really great, I think, strong mind to be able to do that. And could you please move on to the next slide? And I just want to talk a little bit more about his work. So like I say, in early years, he worked for years with little public notice, but then he started gaining popularity in about 2023, 2024, because the videos on TikTok and YouTube would turn his solitary work into a national spectacle. And then the result is that he attracts thousands of people to follow him, and they would offer the alms, and they would document his journey. So it creates really a huge chaos in Vietnam wherever he goes. So the consequences is it led to many severe traffic disruption. Like they count about 5,000 traffic jams caused by him. I don't know how people come up with that number, but anyway, it's a huge thing in Vietnam. There were a lot of public safety concerns because, of course, people they work with him, but they don't care about vehicles coming. And sadly, there was a death of a 47-year-old follower from his dog. And it's a quite of a sad story because this young man, I mean, 47, kind of middle age, he came from the U.S. So he even didn't live in Vietnam. He's a Vietnamese American, but he was so inspired by Thích Minh Tuệ just by seeing stuff online on the internet, and he decided to leave his family, to say goodbye to everyone, all the loved ones, to fly to Vietnam. And then instead of trying to adjust to Vietnamese weather and food and living condition, the next day after his arrival, he joined a group and he started working. Because for Thích Minh Huệ, he's very free, like, oh, you can come, you can live, like he doesn't care, like, so people just take care of themselves. Um, so this man, he just followed with other monks, but other monks they have been working around for quite an amount. So they have been, hardened by the conditions and stuff. But this one, totally new from the US. So just after 2 days, he had a heat stroke, and we couldn't save him. So it was really sad because I keep thinking about his family and his mom, and how hard it will feel. And I don't know if they still want to be Buddhist after this. But yeah, it's a sad it's an unfortunate event, and that leads to the next slide. Um, which is the government intervene, like the government already feel uneasy about the whole thing, but I think they still discussing among themselves, like why we should do, because this is dangerous, like any wrong move would cause really national anger if they do anything wrong to this monk. But after the death of this Vietnamese American, they took action right away. So they just in the middle of the night, they just we call it kidnap. They just took Thích Minh Tuệ and drove him all the way back to his hometown. Although at that time he already very far away from his hometown. And then other monks who followed him, they were also detained, but then they would be dropped off like in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night and let them work on their own. But anyway, just disperse a whole big group, and their official reason were public safety and order, like they want to prevent further traffic chaos and health risks to the large crowds. But then, of course, everyone talk about the underlying reasons, which is maintaining control, because Vietnam is still a communist country. So usually they try to analyze about what does the Vietnamese government feel about this huge new influence on everyone. So they were afraid that the way that he's getting so popular, even he's not a part of the Vietnam Buddhist Sangha, they see that as an implicit critic of the institution, because like you don't need to be in that organization to be able to be a monk or to practice Buddhism. And also they have fear of the uncontrolled gatherings, because here in Vietnam, if you have any meeting more than I think 15 to 20 people, you need to get license and approval from the government. they don't care the reason. They don't care any even in let's say a casual gathering, they always need license for everything. So the state views like any large spontaneous movement as a potential threat to the social stability and their power. And also they're afraid of the power of social media because Thích Minh Tuệ fame demonstrated that the power of social media to mobilize people outside the state-controlled channels. Because before we only have state-controlled, TV channels and radios, but now, social media can really influence everyone, which is out control of the government. So, and it's also he's a symbol of resistance because he embodies the anti-materialism, and he contrasts with the corrupt, like rich people and upper class here because of how the government is and the political situation. A lot of newly rich people here, they rich because they have connections to the government. So it's the government officers and the businessmen, they usually, uh, shake hands and partner to take away the land and do all kinds of bad things to the people to get rich. So because of Thích Minh Tuệ, now it shows the contrast between someone who has nothing and the upper class who had everything, and they had too much. Like you cannot imagine the level of wealth they have, like on the huge mansions everywhere in the countries, and the way they spend money on brain products and crazy traveling and stuff. So it's really make people start looking at the government officers like, why you guys so rich and this one's so poor and he's still doing okay. So the actions of the I mean the what the government did was that they actually carry out many detentions of the monk, not just once, because he kept getting popular. Like even they put him back in his hometown, and he decided to just practice in a little hut on in his house. I mean on like a land of his family. People still just flow to where he is. So of course he keep being detained by the police, and then of course there's the media blackout and censorship anything about him. And also recently they just arrested his brother, and they find like a totally unrelated charge. They just try to find something wrong with his brother, like his family, to have an excuse to arrest the brother, and just to pressure on him to stop walking around, because just his walking is so scary to the government.
Mm. Truk, I think we kind of have to wrap so that we give our participants a chance to engage in conversation. Shall I
Okay.
move to the next slide?
Yeah, you can move to the next slide.
Okay.
So so I just want to wrap up about what happened to him. So at the end, the government couldn't stand his popularity anymore, so they decided to kidnap him again and bring him to the border between Vietnam and Laos and drop him there. And they were hoping that he would just walk into Laos and just disappear there. But turns out his reputation start gaining like even kind of international reputation. So he had even more followers. So he kept walking to Laos. From Laos, he walked to Thailand. And then from Thailand, he tried to get to Myanmar, but he couldn't. So he went to Malaysia, Indonesia, and then he flew to Sri Lanka and then India. And now he's in India. Um, so, so let me see. So his current status is that he still he can still work internationally now despite the persecution by the government. Because even from Vietnam, they try to influence the local government and the local Buddhist organizations and say bad things about him, so that they try to make it hard for him to continue working. Let me see. Yeah, it's actually I think this is the last line ready. So let's see, anything else I want to say? So yeah, so Yeah,
That
that's
one.
the last one. Yeah. So yeah, so even overseas he still have a lot of troubles, like of course the visa complications, because the government, the local government can kick him out and say, oh, your visa is a tourist visa, you're not supposed to work around like this. You know, harassment from stranger, like they even throw rocks at where he sleeps. And of course, there's always natural challenges like the heat, the mosquitoes. People complain a lot about mosquito, and they're so amazed by how the monks can just let the mosquito bite them and don't kill the mosquito. um, yeah. Um, but then he still attract a lot of admiration, and even the slide before showed a picture of this famous Indian actor. He let me see. Yeah, that one. He actually acted in a famous movie. The name is Siddhartha Gautama, which is about the Buddha, and he's the main character. So his role was the Buddha in that movie. And this actor, he actually came to Thích Minh Tuệ to pay respect to him while he's in India. Um, yeah, so that's it. That's the basic information that I can gather. So if you have any question, please feel free to ask.
Okay. Wow, thank you so much, Truk. That was tremendous. All right, so we have this topic of noetic action. And we have somebody who it seems like might be a real exemplar of what it might mean to act with this light of the mind shining his way along his path, literally, as he walks his path. So any comments or questions? Floor is open to all of you. Michael, is that you?
I'll give it a try.
Thank
It's really a shame. Vietnam is such a beautiful country and the people are so beautiful. It's a shame that they have to live like this. The same thing happened with Thich Nhat Hanh. His people were welcomed there while the leaders were trying to get into the World Trade Organization. And so they put on this display of tolerance and welcome. But as soon as they were accepted into the World Trade Organization, they crushed, his church, his organization, closed the monasteries, harassed the practitioners. So the same thing happened with Thich Nhat Hanh. It's very sad. But I have a question. Would you tell us about that scroll behind you? What does the scroll on the wall behind you say?
So it says, it's actually a Vietnamese calligraphy written by my cousin, who is a calligrapher. So it says, thank you, life, every morning when we wake up, because we have another day to love.
you.
Yeah, I think this is from a famous song, poem in Vietnam.
Diana.
So today when I was preparing this presentation, I also had the same thinking as Michael, like why do we keep having monks who are oppressed like this? And they get famous internationally, but not in a good way in Vietnam. And anything with dictatorship, like communist, even now the Vietnamese laughing at the US for having, yeah, I think anywhere when we have some people who wants to rule over other people for greed or for power, for whatever, always there's tragedy like that. And then there are always some people who can rise out of the difficulties and kind of be a good example for us or inspire us. Although I really wish that we could be freely, just walk around. That's what he wished for. He wished he could, work and die in his country. But looks like now, if he ever comes back to Vietnam, they will detain him forever. So now he had to keep wandering around. So people are talking about bringing him to the U.S., but that would be difficult for him because the enemy is gonna say, oh, so all the things he have done before just so that he can immigrate to the US, you know.
Diana, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I thank you. That was beautiful and so inspirational. Thank you so much. I was really struck when we talk about little acts of kindness or illuminating intelligent light. What we're talking about is living. He's just living his life and doing his practice, and how that changes someone. It's not the big acts that need to happen. And what you wrote was silence is a language of the soul. Walk in silence to hear wisdom. And it's such an inspiration that if we have faith and trust our practice and just live our life with light and love, it can change things. And to have so many people gravitate to that light and love and showing how much it's really needed. But I'm really honored to learn about him, because it's his humility and his wanting to just practice and live light and love, and that's what he wants to do in his walking. And he's a great example of that, and how each of us, with our practice of deep listening or our practice of living with kindness and love, and if we do that, that is our practice, and that is enough. Sometimes we need to take other action, but even just living that light and love in our daily life and being that makes a big difference. So it's a wonderful example of how to live our lives. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for your input. It's really great. It's really profound.
I was
All right.
thank you again for the of bringing the awareness of him and the complexities of being a modern sage, if you will, monk, non-monk. It certainly does bring up how similar he was to Gandhi's dedication to going deeper and deeper into the aestheticism. Finding less and less physical limitations guiding him. But it brings up for me, like, oh my gosh, the mosquito statement. I am fully reactive to mosquitoes. Yet, do I need to be? It's how the mind can change. Like he said, after 20 days, the body can adjust and we can be at peace. And the moment that I get a bite and I swell, the world's over, and I have to run inside. So it speaks to the enduring patience, of being able to walk through it. And your quotes that you selected were amazing, because they really gave the essence of how he's doing this. It's not complex. It's just keep going, keep walking, keep in peace. So that was a great selection of his quotes, and it inspired me too.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
actually, I just saw one thing that he said, because people keep praising him and calling him the living Buddha, and he said, no, I haven't achieved anything. I'm not a living Buddha, because he say even in his practice, he's not confident that he has achieved the purpose of not killing, not hurting anyone, because he say even when I work, I don't want to break the branches or the trees, but sometimes when I work my rope or my body can break a branch of trees. So that means I'm still not perfect in any way. So he say just keep working, keep trying to detach ourselves from any any harming other people, or any reliance on material stuff.
Yeah, I was really quick to use the word sage, and I caught that too, because I do feel his humility is there, but I think some of us attach, like some of the followers he has might attach that kind of deity presence to him for what he's choosing, when it truly is this simple humility that he's practicing.
David?
Hey, sorry, were you just calling upon me? Hi, Truck. Good to see you. Thank you for the presentation, the information. Oh my God, what a life. Yikes. But yeah, in answer to that question that Michael posed and others, you know, his message is the enemy of the state in the sense that freedom from the need for purchasing the latest and greatest, the consumerism values that keep those people in their mansions and keep standing armies. It's absolutely necessary for that. The power, the people in power is necessary to keep people at odds and at war. And so his message is directly opposed to what it is that they believe is necessary to survive, which is why they lock them up and take them down, because we have to keep this consumerism, consumer-based, basically modern day slavery. So yeah, from their perspective, that message is the enemy of the state.
It's what you're pointing out, David, following up on Truth's really, really beautiful and excellent presentation, was that maybe there's something about this noetic action, this light-filled action, that has to do with fearlessness. He seems to have nothing to fear. I mean, or is fearless of not, and this was something I think that we saw in Gandhi as well. He's pretty much unstoppable because he's not afraid of anything they might do to him. He's fully cognizant of the fact that he at some point is going to pass from this world. He doesn't seem to care very much about when it is. He's just going to continue living his life the way that he sees fit. He's going to take these actions that seem best to, live this life of compassion, of nonviolence, of peace, of wishing happiness for all. And when you have nothing to fear, that makes you pretty much unstoppable, doesn't it? I mean, they could take his life, but up until that point, even when he's in his little home in his own house or, whatever, he's going to keep doing what he does. And that's all they could actually do is take his life. And I'm sure he would just think, well, there's still something that's just continuing on.
Yeah, that's actually they did mention that because his supporters were afraid of, bad people gonna do bad stuff to him, and he said, I die. I will just keep working until I die, so I don't mind.
Yeah, even so then he's martyred, and more people will follow in his footsteps. That's what they're afraid of.
He's teaching a way of freedom to so many people, isn't he?
Yep. True freedom.
Yeah, true freedom. Mm-hmm.
And that is the enemy of the state.
Okay, Bob, we're ready.
Oh, it was a wonderful presentation. I hope you can share the slides with us because there were so many quotes I couldn't really write them down and listen well, but I'm interested in looking at them. And the conversation has been so interesting. I have so many little things to add to what everyone has wisely said. David, when he talked about an enemy of the state, I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's the state. Because actually he's more of a resistance to capitalism than to communism, but it's really the form of government that he's resisting, or that they see the resistance of. And I like what Diana said about humility, especially in this context, because humility connects to the word for humus or ground. And standing on the ground or sitting on the ground with your blisters or whatever it is you're experiencing is very much, this sort of experience of freedom. And what I thought of myself when I was listening to it was the Chinese concept of Wu Wei, which is action without action. Wu Wei means doing nothing, empty of any ego attachment. Doing nothing, nothing is left undone. So there's nothing to get in the way of your doing of it. It's very inspiring to have someone who has that freedom of emptiness. And actually, I had a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh that I wanted to read because it seemed to relate to that noetic action. It says, when you practice regularly, your life will gradually be transformed. Your movements will become easygoing, not precipitous, and you will be more aware of what you are doing. In your social relationships and in making decisions, you will find yourself acting calmly and incisively, with better insight and more compassion. All beings, from the near to the far, large and small, from the moon and the stars to the leaves and the caterpillars, will become peaceful as you take your steps. So I like that statement.
Oh, beautiful. Let's see. I'm wondering if I could call maybe on Carolyn and then on Mary, and then we'll go from there. We'll see. Carolyn, do you have something you'd like to share?
On. There we go. Well, I'm just interested in the walking and what, I mean, that's exertion. And I'm just interested in what the walking does for clarity of mind. Do you have some thoughts on that? She's not got her audio on.
I think you're tossing that out to everybody, right? Truk, do you have a thought though?
Oh, he does talk a lot about working, but I remember someone asked him what's the difference between working by himself or working with other people, and he says pretty much like what you say, like it trains your mind. Like if your mind is really peaceful and really quiet, it doesn't matter what if there are many people around you or if there's only you with on your own. So I think the working, okay, sorry. So the working is actually among the 13 Dhutanga practices. So it's a requirement to work, and it's from the ancient teaching of the Buddha. And while working, you have to let go of many things. Like you work bare feet, you have to let go of, the inside, let's say the fight against inside your body, like, oh, we shouldn't do this. This hurts so much. So you have to let go of everything. And of course, when you work, you have to be away from your loved ones, from your familiar surrounding and everything. You have to be in a new place. And also, you can see a lot of things. You can see suffering around you. You can feel the suffering inside you, and those will make you appreciate the teaching of the Buddha more, and you practice more seriously on the philosophy. Because to work like that, you need a very strong mind, and to have a strong mind, you need the principle. You need a teaching like someone at the back to rely on. That's why I guess, like, to rely on, to keep telling you what I'm doing is right, what I'm doing is what I should do. So I think that helps with the practice of the Buddhism principles. Yeah, and like I say, it trains the mind a lot. I don't know, like I practice other stuff and it's also hard, even hula also hurts a lot. And I think, you know, with the pain, it comes also the strength. And I think that's what the working is about. So we don't, all of us, we don't have to work like him, but it's his determination, I think, and his willingness to let go of everything, on the materials, on the belonging to the loved one, to the family and the parents and stuff. It's what we can take from his working.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was an excellent answer.
Mahalo,
Thank you so much.
Brooke. Mahalo. That was really interesting. What I take away is that I'm never going to be somebody that's going to drop everything, drop my family, drop my commitments, but I can certainly do little things to help others. Reminds me of Mother Teresa and Saint Teresa of Avila, because they said do everything with love. And even the little things, you know, it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be a grand gesture. Just taking care of your family, that's the first commitment that we have outside of ourself. And it's little things, and he's doing his little thing by his walking and giving up family and comfort, and it's an inspiration to each of us, and we take from his inspiration something little that can affect our lives and the lives of all of us around. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mary. Yeah, if he can give up so much, maybe we can give up just a little bit. If he can live with such unbelievable discomfort, maybe we can live with a little discomfort. That's a great
Yeah,
reminder
he
for us.
I think in the email I sent to Renee with all the quotes, he did talk about missing his parents, and but he said that trains him to look at everyone the same, like everyone is his parents. He should love everyone the same way. So he trying to learn about compassion towards everyone equally. So that's one of the points as well.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's see. I think I'm gonna talk about next week just a little bit. And so if you can wait just a moment. We had a less than noetic action last week, with just a series of miscommunications, kind of made it so we weren't able to get out notices to everybody about last week's talk, which Carolyn had already prepared for us. And it's called Envy to Magnanimity. And she has, it would just be such a shame for us to lose that talk. And as it turns out, we didn't yet have a presenter for next week anyway. So we're just going to take that talk from last week and just push it forward into next week. What do you think of that? Everybody, if you think that's a good idea, give me a twinkle. So we're very grateful to Carolyn for her magnanimity and being willing to shift in that way. So that will be the talk for the week after that. Conscious immortality, I believe we have John Powers speaking to us from the Theosophical tradition. I'm not positive, but we'll be getting back to you on that one. And that would be the week after. So next week, when your almanac says it's the nose to know, just go back 2 weeks. The envy to magnanimity, and that's what we'll be doing with Carolyn next week. I'm going to ask Truk if she has anything that she might like to say in summary. And then I'm going to call on anybody who'd like to give a vote of thanks to Truk for her being with us today. Tuning in from Vietnam itself right now. So, Truk, do you have anything you'd like to summarize with?
I mean, the most impression I have from him is the how to live simply and still feeling happy, because I'm the kind that likes to have a lot of stuff for my comfort. So that's what I learned from doing research about him and presenting about him. And at the same time, with the current situation of my sister just recently being diagnosed with cancer, it has been really hard on us. Actually, reading about him helps me with coping with the news, because it shows that I mean, we all gonna die. So if we take it more lightly and just embrace every day, if every day you can still work, you can still move around, then you should still feel happy, and you should think of the bigger world of other people, other beings. Then it may lessen your personal pain as well. So that is my personal experience while working on this presentation.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. I'd like to give a vote of thanks to Truk today. Thank you, Mary.
Oh, mahalo, Truk. It's so wonderful to see you. Yeah, it's been a long time, and it's a wonderful presentation that you gave, and certainly it educated me, and I know it enlightened a lot of us. So love to you and the family. Oh, I'm so happy to see you. And can you tell me your sister's name? Because I'm going to pray for her.
Yes, thank you. That would be great. So her name is Ha, H-A, very simple name. It means river.
Love
Yes,
you.
we all. Yeah. Thank you all so much. And Truk, really, really huge mahalos to you. Mhm.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, mahalo.
Mahalo. Natalia, we're glad you joined us. There's maybe a confusion about time zones, but yeah, we're just closing up, and we're glad you were able to join us even for a couple minutes. And it was really a lovely presentation. Thanks again, Truk. Aloha.